Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Welcome indeed to the fastest paced soccer podcast in SoCal. This is Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System, covering all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the Galaxy, Angel City, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the Major Arena Soccer League's very own Empire Strykers. Hello and welcome. I'm J.R. Liebert, affectionately known as The Scarf. Thank you so much for joining me on another absolutely jam-packed episode of Soccer in 60. Our interview guest tonight is Orange County Soccer Club's midfielder Stephen Kelly. We can't wait to catch up with the Scottish international, who has already played in over 50 matches in the 2024-2025 season. We'll also be talking all about LAFC and, of course, their massive new signing, Son Heung-min, later in the show. But before we get to all that, let's set our focus on Angel City FC and the Galaxy. And we have the absolute perfect person to do so, Damian Calhoun, a longtime veteran of the SoCal soccer scene, a journalist with the California News Group. You've seen his work published through the greater LA area and beyond, the OC Register, San Bernardino Sun, the Press Enterprise, Pasadena Star News, San Gabriel Valley Tribune, the Press Telegram, and more. Mr. Damian Calhoun, welcome to Soccer in 60.
How you doing?
Very, very good, my friend. Damian, as we mentioned, we got a lot to cover here with both Angel City and the Galaxy. But before we do, time to do a quick check on our friends over at Omnitrans. Got to pay the bills. In partnership with the Empire Strykers, experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strykers. Don't miss out on the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strykers match. All right, Damian, we got a lot to talk about, of course, obviously, with Angel City. Not much in the scoring department in their last match, a nothing draw. But the first NWSL start, and first clean sheet for Hannah Siebert. Got to ask you a quick question first before we get into the minutia of the match. What are your thoughts on how this club is progressing or not under new head coach Alex Strauss?
That's a tough one. Everybody's in a tough situation, especially Alex coming in late. He's only been in charge, 4 or 5 games. He's coming in, revamping style of play. There's a lot of injuries going on, so he's dealing with that as well. And I don't know what they can accomplish really this season if the playoffs are really a legitimate shot, just because of everything that's all the change that's going on so far this season. It seems that they're sort of setting the focus on 2026, 2027. And 2025 is, they're still within striking distance of a playoff spot, so anything's possible. But some weeks it looks like they're just stuck in neutral. Some weeks, and they got a game here in a couple hours. We'll see if anything changes tonight.
Yeah, Kristen Press getting the rare start up top in this last match against Utah Royals. No goals, obviously, but what are your thoughts on how Kristen Press has been utilized this season, how she's playing now, and especially under this new regime with Coach Alex Strauss?
Yeah, it's a tough one because everybody wants her to start and go 90, but I don't know if it's really there to the best interest of the team to have her go 90. I think she's a perfect fit coming off the bench, a spark plug coming off the bench. But with so many players out, they had to roll with her last week. And we'll see if that changes this week here.
Yeah, it'd be great if she can kind of turn back the clock, right? Give us maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Kristen Press, especially in this stretch, like you mentioned, tons of different injuries. Let's talk about goalkeepers here for a second. Look, tested at times, a very solid performance from Hannah Siebert in goal. We know the story, right? Before coming to ACFC, she started in Portugal for Sporting CP. Before that, in Denmark, I mean, she was named Player of the Year, Keeper of the Year in a couple of these leagues. It's a bit of a crowded keeper's room. So what is this last performance, her NWSL debut, a clean sheet? What does that mean for her and maybe for Angel City moving forward?
You can tell that she's a veteran. She's been around. She has a lot more experience than Angelina Anderson, who's third year, I think, out of college. I think if there's a move to make, maybe it is a goalkeeper. Not to say all the problems have been Angelina's problems, but Siebert had a solid job. She's a veteran. She's been around the world. Maybe that's the change that needs to be made here going forward.
Yeah. Does that do anything to the confidence of a player like Angelina Anderson, right? Does players just come in and now taking her spot like right away? That's got to do something.
It has to. Of course, she's also the vice captain, so that they probably won't make a move really. But
right.
every team thrives. They say they thrive on competition. So, I mean, what better competition than somebody coming in trying to take your job? So we'll see. We'll see who gets the job, the starting nod tonight, and then if that would probably tell if there's a change that's been made.
And what we've seen from Angel City, right? They've been such a young team all season, relying on teenagers literally through most of their season. But now Angel City getting June Endo back. We've seen her not just on the pitch at training and in the matches, but on social media, giving us that presence that they've kind of missed on social media a little bit too. Now close to getting Allie Riley back. What does this mean for ACFC? It's basically almost getting two players transferring in towards the back end of the season. But these aren't just veterans. These are all-star caliber players.
Yeah, we've seen June back maybe 2 or 3 games. She didn't play the last game with a leg injury. I think it was diagnosed as. And she's playing a different role than she did the last time, a couple years ago before she got hurt. Alex has her playing higher up a little bit in the midfield and to sort of take advantage of her talents. And they can get her healthy. I mean, she makes a big difference in the midfield. And then with Allie, she's consummate professional. To have her around, that bodes well for all the teenagers that are on the roster.
Yeah, to have a player like Allie Riley, I mean, that's the de facto captain, the face of the franchise, even with Kristen Press and Cindy LaRue and all these others that they've brought in. You mentioned a match in a couple of hours, and I mean, not just against anybody. This is Marta and company coming in town. Orlando Pride currently occupying 3rd spot in the table. You've got ACFC. You said playoff spot is within reach, right? Just 3 points out of a playoff spot, but sitting in 12th. Can you just put into a capsule how important is this match at home against Orlando Pride in just a couple of hours?
I think it's very important. I mean, they haven't played a league game at home since June 7th. They played June 7th, and they went on the road, and then they have the summer break, and then they came back with 3 consecutive road games. So they've been on the road a long time. So this game here, almost to reintroduce themselves to the fans here. They have to come out, try and get a goal early and just sort of let the crowd sort of carry them on to a win that they need a win at some point. At some point, Alex has to get his first win.
Has to, right? And just we didn't really touch on this in pre-show, but what are your thoughts on that massive break in the middle of the season with the NWSL kind of losing touch with everybody and that players' teams having to restart fully? Was that a good thing for Alex? Is it a bad thing for the league? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that giant break?
I've never seen a league really do that. It was kind of interesting to do that, but for him, he needed that to sort of get things working, to start implementing his style. But also, like he said during that break, he had some players go away on international duty. Some players were out, so he never really had everybody together anyway. So this whole season is like a long training session for him as he's trying to get everybody up to speed at what he wants, his style of play. So everything's a work in progress so far.
Listen, that is a great segue to my last question about Angel City. So they're still chasing the playoffs, obviously 3 points back, very much a possibility, but would it be an acceptable outcome, let's say, to miss the playoffs in 2025 if that somehow means that Alex Strauss and ACFC, they're more fully able to kind of implement his system, hit the ground running, and really be a cup contender in 26?
I asked him that. I asked him that yesterday. I asked him I told him that, hey, you guys are only one win out of a playoff spot. Does that give you confidence going forward?
Right.
And he was like, no, I don't look at it that way. So he's looking at the progress. I think if they get in with what they're going through, that's a bonus.
Sure.
But if they don't, I still think that sort of sets them up. That should set them up for next year. I mean, then again, 2026, we don't know what that season is going to really be like with, World Cup and what kind of breaks the league takes then.
Yeah.
But I think if they don't make it, I don't look at that as a negative. Even though 8 teams make it, or maybe 9, I'm not even sure. There's so many teams that make it, but they might not get there. But I don't think that'll be a negative if they don't. If they just keep showing the progress that he's looking for.
Yeah, he called that match against the Royals a real step backwards. So hopefully they can take a big step forward against Orlando Pride. Look, talking ACFC is great, but you've been covering all kinds of soccer in the Southland for quite a while. Let's move on to the Galaxy. We'll hit LAFC a little bit later in the show, but Galaxy really righting their ship because of Leagues Cup, right? Everything changing for them, kind of putting MLS in the rear view. Their last match, obviously, yesterday, a 2-1 win over Pachuca. They had to make it close right at the end, right? Had to allow that late one. But now Galaxy have 2 shots at qualifying for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. They can either beat Seattle and move into the final, where both clubs qualify, or if they lose to Seattle, that third place match is still out there for the win. I want to get your impressions first about that performance against Pachuca, what that means for Galaxy moving forward, and how they can use that in Leagues Cup play for these last couple matches.
Yeah, what I've seen through Leagues Cup, I've seen professional performances, something they haven't had during the regular season. You can count on your hands. I mean, the games that they either scored first and just grinded out wins, or just dominated a win all the way through. Last night was just a professional win. They got their own goal. They scored again. And then the second half, they just have to, defend and grind out the win and move on. That's something we haven't seen this year. We saw it a lot last year. And, of course, last year they were, flying around, scoring 3 and 4 goals. But this year, especially in Leagues Cup, they had to find their way to just grind things out, and that's what they've done so far against the teams from Mexico.
And it's really been on the front foot of Marco Reus, right? The veteran. He's been incredible. Maybe a stretch of 12, 15 games now where he's really been able to turn back the clock. We've seen players like Son coming in for LAFC and Thomas Muller coming in for Vancouver. What does it mean to have a player like Marco Reus to help right that ship without a guy like Ricky Puig coming? He may be back at some point this season. We're not quite sure. But what does it mean to have these performances from Marco Reus?
It means everything to have that veteran in the midfield, because they traded off all their veterans, really. Mark Delgado got traded. Gaston Brugman got traded. So all those guys in that midfield were moved on. And Marco, he's just so calm on the ball. Sometimes it looks like he's sort of like moving in slow motion, but you can see he's picking things out, and then in the moment he's making his run. He's sending the ball left, right, and he's making those runs. He's just so calm in the midfield for this group. Yeah,
look, the Galaxy have one match on their schedule before the showdown with Seattle, right? And maybe they're doing the same thing that we kind of are, maybe overlooking this match against Colorado, with Seattle looming on Wednesday, and obviously all the eggs in the basket of Leagues Cup for Galaxy for the remainder of the season. What do you expect in that match against the Rapids? Are we going to see a heavily rotated squad? Are there starters that aren't going to play? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I thought they would rotate against Miami last Saturday, but they really didn't. They sort of did, but not really. They set out their two outside backs, made some changes in the midfield. But, I don't think you can run out Painso and Peck 85, 90 minutes against Colorado or Marco Reus much on Saturday. Everything has to be on next Wednesday. Of course, you played Seattle maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and they handed them a 4-0 loss. So, yeah, I would expect some kind of heavy rotation. But the team's not really that deep, so people say, oh, you got to rotate. But they can't really rotate because, you got Maya Yoshida, who's dealing with an injury. And some other guys who are dinged up, some guys we haven't seen play in a while. So maybe this is the weekend that Vanny sort of really finds some guys from from the U.S. Well, not U.S. From Team 2. They're moving them into the lineup, whatever. So we'll see, because everything has to be focused on Wednesday.
Yeah, we might get some guys from Ventura County for sure in this one. And you touched on it, right? 11 days ago, Galaxy absolutely humiliated at home by Seattle. And we're not talking about at the hands of Pedro de la Vega or Jesus Ferreira or anyone named Roldan. It was a brace from Danny Musovski and a late one by Snyder Brunel, who I don't think anybody had on their bingo card, scoring a goal in that one. What do the Galaxy need to do? How do you right the ship after 11 days? I mean, it just happened. What do you do to right the ship and get things going the right way here? You're playing them in Leagues Cup semifinals 11 days later.
Yeah, someone asked Greg Vanny about that last night. He talked about the energy. After that game, he talked about how there was no energy in the group.
Yeah.
That was the end of maybe a 4-game and, like, I don't know, some kind of weird 10-day stretch, whatever. Right. And they looked flat from the beginning. When you do that against Seattle, you're going to get punished, because no matter who's missing, Brian Smetry does a great job of just plugging guys in, and they all deliver. Yeah. That's why I think the rotation Saturday to set them up for Wednesday, when you have a fresher Paintsel and a fresher Gabriel Peck, and he harped on there was no energy out of the group that first game, that game a couple weeks ago. So I expect we will see a different attitude. I mean, they're at home. The fans are slowly coming back a little bit. So, yeah, I think it'll be a different atmosphere for sure this summer.
Well, we'll talk about the fans in just a second for sure. Look, let's also – we talked about keepers with Angel City. Let's talk about keepers for a second here also with the Galaxy. Obviously, John McCarthy now being moved on, it looks like, to New York Red Bulls. So it is Michovic's club moving forward. That's what Greg Vanny has been saying for quite some time now. What are your thoughts on how Mitrovic has developed over the course of this season?
I think he's come a long way since he got there, for sure, especially this year as well. He started early throughout preseason. He had a slow start beginning of the year. They sat him on the bench for a couple games, and he's come back pretty strong. He's still a young keeper. Yeah. Everybody says keepers don't really develop until they get old, but you got a kid here who's like 23, 24, and they're throwing him into the fire. And I sort of thought once he started in the preseason, McCarthy was still there. And then they brought in JT Marcinkowski. I knew at some point either McCarthy or Marcinkowski were going to be gone.
Sure.
And it seems that McCarthy's going to be the odd man out here going forward. But yeah, I mean, Novak, he's come a long way. I know last year Greg didn't think he was vocal enough in goal.
Okay.
I think he sort of come out of his shell a little bit. And I think he's done a pretty good job.
And he's been thrown into the fire. But when you also know that it's your job, you tend to play a little bit more confidently, right? So hopefully that's what they'll see from him moving forward. But when you talk about the keeper situation, it was one made largely by Greg Vanny, and it's been a historically bad MLS season for the Galaxy. Look, they still have 2 trophies that they can play for, right? Between Leagues Cup and Campeones Cup, there's still a ton for Galaxy to play for, but should Greg Vanny be feeling any heat? I know they picked an odd time to announce the extension, and then they went on that unprecedented winless streak. But should Greg Vanny be feeling any heat? Is there anything to that given the club's performance this year?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, especially that start of the season, that was just I was talking to someone. I still can't explain how they went through that winless streak. It's like the team. It wasn't that bad of a team, but there you go, 16 games unbeaten. At no point did I think they would move on from him. I just thought it would. Me personally, I thought it would have been a bad look to have a coach lead you to an MLS Cup title, and then you fire him the next season, especially with your leader sidelined with an injury. Ricky, he means so much to the group. He means so much to everybody, really. And without him, they tried to bring in some younger players. It took them time to get acclimated. They're still trying to get acclimated. And I didn't think moving on would have been the right thing to do. But in sports, GMs and owners, they do what they want to do, really.
Right.
But I thought with the foundation that he set there, I thought it would have been to see if they could, because we knew they were trying to work on an extension. They couldn't get it done. Then they finally did. They announced it at the worst time possible. Right. But yeah, I just thought that moving on wouldn't have been the answer, because you talk to the group, man to man. It's like I've never dealt with a team who speaks so highly of a coach the way they do of Greg Vanney. And I just thought that he would be around at least to next year with Ricky coming back. You start over again, but you got a 3-year deal out of it. So.
Yeah, I want to ask you one more kind of two-sided question too. How do you keep the motivation for an MLS season that is pretty much lost, right? Obviously, Leagues Cup is Leagues Cup, and you can find it for those types of games, right? But they've got 2 more months of MLS play to go before they're kind of put out of their misery for the 25 season. And then in that same nutshell, do you also rethink maybe about even bringing back a player like Ricky Pooch?
Man, I mean, I got 2 more months of league games to write with a team on 16 points going nowhere fast.
Right.
Yeah. Well, on the Ricky, I mean, that's the big question. When do you bring him back? You see him at training. He's running around with a ball. I don't think he's really in full training yet.
Right.
But, he's out there. He's outside. He's running around. So I think at some point you have to bring him back this year just to get him back on the field, get the confidence back. And if that's, the last game of the year when you're, stuck on 18 points or whatever, you got to do it.
Fan Appreciation Day, right?
There you go. You got to bring them back at some point to get that confidence back. Other than that, I mean, how does he motivate the group? I don't know. It's some of the guys are veterans in there, so they would probably hold some of the younger kids to the fire.
Yeah.
Hey, we still got games to play. We're still professionals here. But other than that, I don't know how I would do it. If you win Cup one year, the next year you're down at the bottom, just trying to fight for your life.
Well, listen, this has been Damian Calhoun, journalist with the California News Group. You can read his work in 11 different papers across the Southern California area. Damian, first of all, thank you for coming on and welcome to the Soccer in 60 family, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Speaking of family, this is an exciting time because I get to bring back our good friend, Tim Kolach. Tim, we've still got our live interview with OCSC midfielder Stephen Kelly coming up, a bunch of LAFC talk, Young Men's Son. But first, Timmy K, what do you say, my friend? How are you?
I couldn't be better. And it's always fun to listen to an expert like Damian coming on and giving really that in-depth insight that only somebody that is following the teams on a daily basis can provide. Some of the things that he talked about, the Galaxy are headed to the glue factory this season, right?
Yeah.
But it's a very similar process that I think the Galaxy have that Angel City has. And he kind of commented on it. It's a bunch of young guys. Angel City has got a bunch of young girls out there, 18, 19 years old. And I just think it's awesome to have somebody coming in like that on a hot summer night like we have in Southern California today.
I mean, it is absolutely great to have Damian. No word on if he's ever been in my local newspaper, the Daily Breeze, but I'm sure, maybe that's happened from time to time.
The Daily Pilot, that one too. In Orange County.
Absolutely, right? All right. So we've been taking a quick look back at the Empire Strykers and a couple of their players each of these last couple of episodes. Let's talk about a couple. First, Alan Perez, who LA native, right? Former UC Riverside Highlander. He did absolutely everything that was asked of him and more for the Strykers in 2024-2025, Tim.
Yeah, you talk about a guy that Coach Obasi leaned on heavily, career high in appearances with 23, tied for second in appearances on the team. I mean, this is a guy that did yeoman's work. We talked about it earlier today with, in pre-show, but you want to talk about people that are doing anything and everything to help out the team. And Alan did that. I mean, He's a local guy. He comes in, he's got his local fan base here to chase him down, and just a work ethic like no one else. I mean, to go on the road and play almost every game, to be at home and play almost every game. Pretty intense stuff, man. Pretty cool that Alan did such a nice job for the Strykers and the push to the playoffs.
And what's been incredible, too, he's still a young kid, but he had a real breakout season in 23-24. You're talking about 22 points, 9 goals, 13 assists. And you would think a player like that might take a little bit more of a me-first attitude going into the next season, going, all right, let me really show what I can do. Let me capitalize. Let me take the next step. But Coach Obasi came to him and said, okay, I need you to play a little defense tonight. I need you to play a little midfield tonight. I need you to move all around, do all the different things. When a young player like that buys in the way that he did, I mean, it's just, he was one of the real unsung heroes and incredible stories of the Empire Strykers in 24-25.
I agree. I think it's infectious. I think you get a guy like Allen to come in that had that breakout season the year before and then say, yep, I'm going to do whatever it takes, coach. Put me in, coach. I want to play.
Yeah.
And these are the things that really build a team and just not a group of guys running around on the indoor soccer field. That's really what makes a team tick, is when you have some veterans like a Marco Fabian, and he sees guys like Allen coming in. You want to feed him the ball. You want him to get on the pitch as much as possible. And then you have younger guys like, Roscoe and Gomez and some of these other dudes coming in and saying, wow, if he's going to bust that hard when he had such a good year last year and do what the coach says, I'm going to get in line. I'm going to do what coach says too.
Yeah, you mentioned it, right? Second on the team in appearances, new career high with 23, a fantastic season for Alan Perez. But a player who we'll also take a quick look back on, club icon. I mean, he's going to cross the 150 match mark with MASL this next season, is Andy Reyes. And Reyes, again, 5 seasons for the club back when they were the Ontario Fury, back from 2015 to 21, and came back with an absolute bang last year, Tim, a new career high in assists and points. I mean, talk about a do-everything guy. He was a huge reason that the Empire Strykers offense was rolling as well as it was last season.
Yeah, you mentioned it. 12 assists and six goals, a total of 18 points. He bested it when he was with the Texas Outlaws the year before with 9, 7, and 16. So you bring in somebody like that, and we talked about it numerous times, Scarf, on the show, that if you can put up 18 points at at basically a point per game average, you no longer have to have Stinson and Fabian and Palmer and all these other guys putting up 20, 30 goals. Palmer is obviously on the defense, and he's, but when you're not giving up 8, 9 goals a game and you're scoring 7 or 8, now you're in the right spot. And a guy like this he's able to take a lot of pressure off of the other forwards, the other midfielders, and they don't have to score as much.
Yeah, and a player who really embraced Coach Onua Obasi's system, right? A career high by a mile in assists with 12. I think his previous career high was 7 before that. Also being able to add in the 6 goals, to be able to see that offensive presence. You know what you're going to get from a Marco Fabian. You know what you're going to get from a Justin Stinson. But when you have a player like Andy Reyes, again, a club icon, being his history going all the way back to 2015, it's just a huge thing.
Yeah, and when Obasi comes to the team management and really actively encourages re-signing him, getting an icon of the team, that was one of his first moves, is to really talk about Andy Reyes and really get him to be part of that program. And again, you talk about a guy that feeds into the system and feeds off of the other guys on the team. Andy Reyes is one of these guys. He just comes in. He's we talk about the Galaxy going to the glue factory. Well, Andy Reyes is the glue that really put the Strykers together last season.
No, absolutely. Speaking of things we want to talk about, don't forget, we are going to hit a lot of LAFC talk at the end of the episode. Coming up very shortly is our interview with OCSC midfielder Stephen Kelly. This is going to be a good one. But before we do that, let's pay a couple of bills by talking about our good friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers, and of course, a proud sponsor of your Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, go to nationalcore.org. Very excited to bring on Stephen Kelly. We are now joined by a midfielder with the Orange County Soccer Club who only just joined from his native Scotland. There he is. Just a couple of months ago. He's coming in and out. Don't worry. Gunner's going to figure it out in just a second. After coming up through the youth system of Domestic Giants Rangers, there he is again. He's coming out of nowhere. He made 113 appearances for Livingston FC, playing a key role in the club's promotion to the Scottish Premiership back in May. Within weeks, we tell you, he was announced by his new team in Southern California, and he's hit the ground running. Only 51 matches so far in this long season for Stephen Kelly. It is such a joy to have with us former Scotland Youth International, Stephen Kelly, midfielder for OCSC. Welcome to Soccer in 60.
Thanks very much. It was a great introduction there.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, it's been a long haul for you, but you got to help us make sense of just one thing. You're playing in beautiful Almond Vale Stadium, Livingston, Scotland, the place where you have lived and grown up for the 25 years of your life. Look, Orange County, California is a beautiful place, but you had just won promotion with Livingston. You're back in the Scottish Prem, and then you hear from a club down in Orange County, California. You work out the terms. Couple weeks later, you're playing home matches at the Champ. How did the opportunity come to pass that you're now suiting up for Orange County Soccer Club?
So I'd heard about it quite a while ago. Maybe closer to the start of the year. Obviously I was, as you said, I was playing at Livingston, just kind of focusing on that. And towards the end of the season, there it became more kind of solid. It was going to be an opportunity for me, and once I done some research and looked into it, it was an opportunity that really excited me.
Look, since your arrival, it's been exciting down in Orange County, right? An incredible run of form so far. 5 wins, 2 draws, just a single loss across all competitions. Look, it seems like the club is really finding its stride, and through it all, you've been a real catalyst. You've looked excellent. We've had you on what we call our Greater LA's Best 11 last week, and don't tell anybody because it's not like this is live or anything. If you can keep a secret, you're on it again this week. What's making you guys so good down there in Orange County, and what's allowed you in particular to kind of really gel with the team as quickly as you have?
I think, since I've joined, the performances have been pretty consistent. I think it's maybe 1 loss in 9 or 10 games. So I think, previously when on the outside looking in, the results were pretty inconsistent. But we've seemed to have kind of found a way of playing in the last couple of months, and we've been getting rewards for it.
Yeah, you guys have only given up a couple of goals, just 2 of them in your last 4 games, and you had that huge draw out in Pittsburgh. That was a really big draw because they're leading the Eastern Conference, and then you have a massive 1-0 win at Colorado just the other day, and you played outstanding in both of these games. Talk to me about the performance, about the team, especially in that road win, and what are you guys doing now that makes the other team so tough for you to break down?
I think the Pittsburgh. That was probably a really difficult match. Obviously, we get a goal early and we're kind of in a really good position, but to come away with a point from a team on the east side, it's as maybe earlier in the season those results we might not have picked up. So can I think as a group we're defending really well, and we've been scoring quite a few goals. So if you can. Yeah. Keep defending well and keep scoring goals, then you shouldn't have too many problems. But even in Colorado, it was just probably a hard-working team performance that, maybe wasn't the best game to watch or the best game to, play in. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of defending, but that's sometimes what you need to do, especially away from home.
Yeah, well, it's easy for me to watch when you do an in-swinger to Ethan Zubak, and a friend of the show, Nico Ben Alcazar, cleans up the header and he buries it for the 1-0 win. That's pretty easy for us to watch, Stephen.
I know. We might not be getting a set piece goal every week though.
Yeah. Hey, to say that Scotland and Southern California are not that similar would be an understatement, right? Have you experienced the culture shock? What kind of culture shock have you experienced here, and how are you settling into the new surroundings once you've been here now about 8 weeks?
Yeah, obviously it's totally different. Just like the weather for a start is just sunny every single day, hot every single day, which kind of makes training tough at times. But it's just a totally different part of the world, and it's quite a unique place to live.
Yeah. Let
It's
me ask
totally
you,
different.
Stephen, you've got this Pittsburgh road trip that you just went on. You got a Tulsa road trip that you're going on in just a little bit. Did you ever travel like that at all when you were playing over in Scotland? Was there any type of long flights like that? Anything you needed to do?
Not for league matches. Occasionally, like European matches when I was younger and still at Rangers.
Yeah.
We get a few longer flights, but I don't think there's been much quite like the kind of Loudon and Pittsburgh trips.
Yeah, look, we talked about, Tim kind of asked him how you were settling in. Look, we do a lot of research, right? Our creative director Gunner's behind the scenes doing all the research. We're doing all our research, but it's tough to find out a whole lot about you outside of your soccer, your football career. Look, are you an international man of mystery? What's this mysterious life that you're leading away from the game? What do you like to do when you're not at training? Are you secretly like a spy or an architect or something? What can we know about Stephen Kelly, the man?
Recently I've been going to the beaches a lot, so that's definitely been one tick off different beaches after training. But no, I don't get up to too much.
Well, look, while we're getting to know you a little bit better, you grew up in Port Glasgow, Scotland, a suburb of Glasgow, right? What was life like growing up in Port Glasgow? Do you have any siblings? What would you do as a kid?
So I have an older sister. She just had a baby as well before I came away, so I'm an uncle.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, congrats,
man.
man.
I've just since a young age just kind of played football, school. All my friends, most of my friends play professionally as well back home, so we've always kind of been that kind of group of boys that play football, and that's kind of what we've done. They're obviously missing me a bit now that I'm out here, but they know it's a great experience.
Well, let me ask, is there anything you're missing about Scotland? Any food, I don't know, what might you be missing that you can't get out here in Orange County?
And I'm not sure there's too much kind of like that. I mean, the food out here is, there's so much different, so much choice. Obviously just kind of family and friends and stuff like that. But no, I'm really enjoying the kind of change.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you need some food choices, hang out with Nico. He goes down to the beaches quite a bit. He knows a few good spots down in Laguna. So
yeah, you like seafood, Nico.
Yeah. So, hey, growing up near Glasgow, you were able to earn a coveted spot with the Youth Academy of Domestic Giant Rangers. And eventually you worked your way all the way up to the first team. I'm sure you had to make a lot of sacrifices in your youth, not hanging out with your friends and stuff. But what was it like to be part of such a competitive environment at such a young age?
I think, because, we did start so young, you could probably just kind of becomes like second nature. Like you're just there every day and you kind of grow with the same players each year. So when you probably look back at it, probably is bigger than maybe what we give it credit for back home. But it was kind of just what I always done, what I always knew. And as you said, I progressed right through.
Yeah, so there's never really a need to take a break from that pressure because it's the only thing you really ever knew, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me personally, I always kind of expected to just kind of keep taking the next step, and ultimately I've done that to a certain point. But in terms of the pressure, the pressure probably doesn't come as a youth player at Rangers. It's more when you're playing every week and you need to win and you need to win trophies. That's ultimately where the pressure starts. But we were trained from a young age how to behave, how to play, how to train, and you just kind of keep carrying those habits through.
Yeah, and winning doesn't hurt, right?
Exactly.
So did you grow up a giant Rangers fan? And did you go to lots of games with your friends and your teammates?
Yeah, I was a Rangers fan growing up. Some of my friends, Rangers fans as well, we would go most times in the academy. If there was a home game, you would just attend anyway. So we were always at the games.
I got to ask you your thoughts on Celtic. Just curious.
I mean, the last few years they've been pretty dominant. It's no secret, certainly. Yeah.
All right.
It's okay, Stephen. You can say you don't like them. We'll keep your secret, buddy.
Look, you've crossed the 50 match mark over the course of like what would be the 2024-2025 season. You're approaching 4,000 minutes. Are you tired? Like what are you feeling right now at this point in the season, knowing that you got one more push ahead of you before the USL playoffs? There's a lot going on coming up, but how are you feeling right now?
So far I'm feeling pretty fine. I probably had a few weeks at the start where I was, just kind of getting up to speed. So that's maybe helped me, hopefully on the other side.
Okay.
But, touch wood, there's no issues so far.
All right. Well, you got a huge matchup like we've talked about a couple of times now. Tulsa, top of the table in the West. You guys have to travel all the way out there. They're riding a hot streak right now. Orange County's playing fantastically right now. What can you tell us about, your mindset, your approach, and your expectations heading into this huge match this weekend against Tulsa?
I think, it'll definitely be difficult. When you add in the sort of travel and different stuff, it kind of adds to that. But I think Orange County were the last team to beat Tulsa before they went on the run. So obviously that was before I joined. But I think for the rest of the group, it's can give us a bit of added confidence, going into the game.
Well, look, it has been an absolute pleasure, Stephen, for us to have you on here at Soccer in 60. They got Tim with the kit right behind. I mean, this is a huge moment for us. We really appreciate you coming on. And obviously, best of luck against Tulsa. Go back to Oklahoma and get those 3 points.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Pleasure having you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, Stephen. Thank you so much for coming on. Look, Tim, it's got to be exciting, right, to have a player like that coming on. We've already teased he's in the best 11 coming up at the end of the show. I'm also going to tease counting to 11 is sometimes difficult for some people involved with the show, but we'll talk more about that later. And look, let me ask you a quick question here, Tim. You're our resident OCSC expert, among many, many other things. After 18 matches, right, they find themselves in 5th place, just 4 points away from 2nd, but just 7 points from the bottom of the table, 12th place. What do you make of this incredibly crowded table moving forward? Every match is basically a playoff match, right?
It is, and I love it. I love the fact that everybody is so closely packed inside of this table. It's one of the things that makes USL so good to watch, because every match, like you said, is a playoff match. If you win, you magically go up 3 levels, 3 spots in the table. If you lose, you could get passed by no less than 2 teams every weekend. And with the run of form that Orange County has been on, they really needed it to solidify that position, as you said, in 5th. But really what it does is, as long as they continue to play like this on the road, they're going to do nothing but going up, because they're going to start packing that champ again every night with 5,500 strong. And as Stephen said, you have that type of pressure. It becomes no pressure because you're so used to it, and you can continue to play at this high a level the entire rest of the season.
Yeah, we didn't get into the one question I wanted to ask either you or Stephen, and that's what the heck is Tulsa doing in the Western Conference? But we can talk about geography a whole lot later. Let's get in to the black and gold LAFC, and of course, Tim, their massive new signing. I don't know how many more weeks we can still call him a new signing, but he's been there for a couple of weeks now. He's still got the shine on him. Son Heung-min has been a revelation, as if that was a surprise for LAFC coming in.
Well, and this is one that you expected this type of thing when you signed Giroud. right?
Right.
But Giroud just didn't work out. The fact that they went a completely opposite direction than they did with Olivier, bringing in Sonny, is just magical. And for him to be a part of basically every goal since he showed up for LAFC has just been legendary. You want to talk about a guy that should get an extension. Holy smokes, the general manager and senior management of LAFC, the owner should be writing checks to these guys, because to put him on the pitch that quick and then he gets a full 90 in only his second match, holy smokes.
Well, we know he was ready to go, right? As he was in match form in preseason with Tottenham. The nice part is he was able to play, obviously, his last 2 matches in Korea with Tottenham, which must have been absolutely electric in those stadiums. But you mentioned it, right? A part of almost every goal moving forward in this last match. They take out Revolution 2-0. And other than Carl's Hill, that is just not a good Revolution team right now. But a solid effort all around. The shutout, the clean sheet from Hugo Lloris, his 9th on the season. And who was it? I think Damian had mentioned earlier in tonight's show, a player who the Galaxy had to unfortunately mark as a cap casualty, Mark Delgado, his 10th goal contribution on the season. This guy's played 14 years in MLS, and he's setting a new career high in goal contributions. Tim, you've watched Mark Delgado for pretty much his entire career.
Yeah, to see him be a cap casualty, as it were, for the Galaxy, and to have him playing so well last season, and then he's now even playing better for LAFC, kind of makes me, just a little bit of shit. But the fact that he is just such a good human being, and to go over and have that type of effect on LAFC immediately from the day he walked on that pitch during the first day of training camp to this last game, he has been nothing but exemplary.
No, absolutely.
And the goals that he's scoring are ridiculous, Scarf. They're incredible. Upper 90s. Come on.
Oh, yeah. That was a one from distance, an absolute banger up in that top shelf where Grandpa likes to keep the good stuff, right? As Philly would normally say if he were here on the show. Another player that's been such a joy getting to watch over the course of the season is Nathan Ordaz, right? And one of the things that we've talked quite a bit about is that log jam at that third spot up top, because it's going to be Denis Bouanga and it's going to be Son Heung-min. But other than that, it's a battle between a player who was Venezuela's top prospect coming in David Martinez, and a player who was like Van Nuys's top prospect in Nathan Ordaz, right? It's such a difference of journeys on how they got to where they are. But we see Nathan Ordaz, even in limited minutes, right? With David Martinez getting the start, it was Nathan Ordaz who started that second goal, that beautiful pass into Sonny, and then Sonny just did all the rest with that feed to Chonier. More on him in just a second. But seeing a player like Ordaz now being able to develop alongside of Son, what do you think of that?
Watching LAFC this season is a lot like watching the Galaxy last season. To this extent, there's a wealth of riches up front. Okay. Right? You have so many people that can fill that spot. Nathan Ordaz coming in as young as he is, playing, and he's not afraid of anything. The pressure is not on him. It's a lot like what Stephen Kelly just said. You've grown up with that pressure. You expect that pressure, and you thrive under the pressure. And you kind of melt down maybe a little bit when you aren't expected to do as many of these things. And to have both Nathan Ordaz and David Martinez come in and play so well and complement each other so well, man, that's got to be a fun locker room to be in between those two guys.
Yeah, and then you talk about a player like Mathieu Chonier, who was able to get his first goal in an LAFC uniform last match after playing fits and starts maybe a few minutes at a time, really not getting on the pitch up until recently. And we're talking about a player, by the way, who is a 2-time All-Star in this league, a Canadian men's national team starter as they are ripping through the United States at times in the Gold Cup. I mean, there's a lot that this player has done, and to see I'm going to call it again, the Sonny effect on a player like Mathieu Chonier, who, look, he might not get a lot of playing time, right? But he makes the right run. He's right there alongside Ordaz and Son for that final goal, able to put it in the back of the net, a quality finish from Chonier. What does it mean to have a player like that now in the fold? Now you're getting deeper and deeper in the midfield as well.
Yeah, you talk about a international man of mystery that nobody realized was on the team because he got so few minutes. But for him to come in and play as well as he has in those limited minutes, it's in under the radar signing, Scarf. And one of these things that really, again, now you have a wealth of riches, not just on the right side, but on the left side too.
Yeah, I mean, to think about the schedule that LAFC has coming up, right? They have this stretch now. This is their third road match in a row with Dallas coming up this Saturday. They've played very, very well on the road so far, right? They got the draw in what was Sonny's debut in Chicago, the 2-0 win, and now a Dallas team who's really looking to find itself. It's been kind of a rough season in Dallas as well. And I think this match kind of parallels quite a bit the Colorado match for the Galaxy, right? In that, oh, by the way, the next match is kind of a big deal with San Diego coming to BMO Stadium in a matchup of the number one spot in the West. And I'll say this, it's LAFC's chance to have a chance at the division. If they don't get 3 points in that, then stop looking at the Western Conference title for the rest of the season. What do you expect in this Dallas game coming up on Saturday before they take on the Western Conference leaders in San Diego?
Yeah, I think this one's going to be, it's going to be interesting to watch this game. And I don't want to say that facetiously. What it's going to be is you're going to have the Heat in Dallas, and you're going to have a team that is looking to play spoiler, right? They want to come in, they want to knock them on, they want to knock off one of the better teams in the Western Conference. And with as many games as LAFC has played lately, these types of things are going to wear on a team. But I think what's going to be very fascinating is to see who starts on the right-hand side. Is it Martinez or is it Ordaz? And I think if it's Ordaz, the speed of Ordaz is going to be really, really strong up there with Sonny. And then if David Martinez comes in, the finishing quality, I think, is going to be on point. So I'm looking for LAFC to play really well against Dallas, and I see LAFC coming out with no less than a draw in this game.
Yeah, I think it's got to be 3 points if LAFC want any shot at making that a meaningful matchup against San Diego. Let's see how many players from LAFC, let's see how many players from any of these other clubs from around the Southland make the roster. And you and I both did a count. We double-checked on this. I believe so far that this club, this best 11 that we have right now, has 12 players. And with all due respect to our creative director, Gunnar, we got to at least change the graphic for this one, put in a little extra eye over there on the side. And it all comes from 2 keepers. Tim, I didn't think we were allowed to play 2 keepers at the back, but I'll give Gunnar some grief, but I get why he did. Let's talk about Hannah Siebert, first of all, and kind of stamping her place in ACFC's roster.
Yeah, I think this is a big one, and I can see why Gunnar did this is because Hannah Siebert comes in and gets the clean sheet for Angel City. Now, against a floundering Utah team, which could have seriously been a win for Angel City, but to get that clean sheet and really prove that she came here to play and not just be a backup.
Yeah, and look, she's not going to score any goals for the team, so it's not her fault, right? Let's go through the best 11 real quick. We have both Hugo Lloris and Hannah Siebert in goal. Nico Benalcazar for OCSC against Colorado Springs. Emiro Garces for Galaxy against Pachuca. And Sergi Palencia for LAFC against New England on the back line. So 2 keepers and 3 defenders with 5 midfielders. Timothy Tillman and Mark Delgado for their efforts against New England. Marco Royce and Isaiah Parente for their effort against Pachuca and Miami for the Galaxy. And our interview guest on this episode, we kind of teased it, so you knew it was coming. OCSC's own Stephen Kelly for his effort against Colorado Springs. And at forward, you got Joseph Painsil for Galaxy and Son Heung-min, who is wearing the captain's armband in this one. That didn't take very long, huh, for Sonny to grab the captain's armband on LA's best 11.
It did not. When you have the quality of that final pass on the LA's second goal, you got to kind of have to give it to Son because of the way he's playing, the way he's leading that team. And when you do those types of passes instead of taking the shot, you're definitely putting the team first. And that's what a captain is. Captain puts the team first. Hey, get on my back. I'll bring you along, but I'm going to make you the better player.
Yeah, look, that's absolutely what it takes in a captain. I'll say this. It's what we've seen from Marco Reus in the midfield now for, I don't know, a run of 15 games or so. He looked
16 games, yeah.
He looked incredible against Pachuca. But a player who I know we want to touch on, we talked about the two keepers, Hannah Siebert and Ugo, both keeping clean sheets, which is why apparently Gunnar allows two keepers to be on our best 11. But let me ask you about Nico Benalcazar, because, of course, he has the game winner in the last match against Colorado Springs, and he appears yet again on Greater LA's best 11.
Yeah, Nico has come into Orange County and taken the team by storm. We had him on the show a couple of months ago, and he was just so good, so engaging. And he was fortunate enough to allow me to send him a text message every now and then. And just one of the things that Nico mentioned on the show, or actually post show, was that it's just getting the work done, going in and working hard every day. And again, when you see guys coming in and working hard every day, you look at them and just say, all right, I want to be like him. I'm going to come in and he's going to lead us. And he's young, right? He's not one of these guys like a Tom Brewer who's a little bit older. He's a young kid, but he's putting in those extra hour after training. And he enjoys himself, goes down to the beach and things like that. But Nico has just been a bright and shiny light to come into the midfield and plays defense too for Orange County.
Yeah, and in case, again, you're adding up these players, wondering where you went wrong, that's 5 for LAFC, 4 for Galaxy, 2 for Orange County Soccer Club, and Hannah Siebert holding it down for Angel City. That is a best 11 of
+1.
12. There you go. Yeah, we got 12 in this one.
Hey, you know what? Everybody else gets a +1 when they go out to dinner or a wedding or something. We've got at least best 11 +1.
Here we go. We get a best 11 +1. I love it. Look, if you are not following Soccer in 60 on any of your social media platforms and podcast platforms, what are you doing? Hit that button. Make sure you give us a follow, like, subscribe, do all the cool things that all the cool kids are doing. It has been an incredible episode. I got to hang out with my good buddy, Tim Kolach. We had Damian Calhoun on, who is an absolutely incredible writer for pretty much every trade publication we've got going on in the greater Los Angeles area. And of course, super excited to have Stephen Kelly from OCSC. Thank you. And this has been Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System.